I'm gonna have a sip of coffee. Some donut shop coffee with a little bit of honey in it. Classic OG Whiz beverage right there. Black coffee with just a little honey.
Father! Why are you looking at me with that face? Father!
Disappointed. Oh, so that other guy wasn't her father, it was just like her mentor?
Kenji Dono, what happened to me?
We're inside a cavern. I don't sense any monsters or insects here. You were poisoned by the butterfly scales, and it caused you to lose consciousness.
Okay, the scales.
You're too weak to be on your feet yet.
There's no choice. I can't let him out of my sight.
Hey, guess you're up.
Ah, yes. Are you feeling any better now, Sakari-san?
What are you doing?
Huh? I'm making dinner.
And I'm repairing our torn garments.
And I'm supervising.
But I thought you were worried about us running out of time.
Yeah, well, it's not such a big deal now.
Why? Are reinforcements
Now
not
that
coming?
we're not facing immediate danger, I believe this would be a good time for us to relay the information we've gathered. We can discuss everything while we're enjoying our dinner.
Count me in. What? Kikatsugan? Really? This is the sorriest excuse for dinner I've ever seen.
Kikatsugan?
I made them with whatever I could find. I think I did a decent job.
No, so just like
Of
blended
course.
herbs.
I scouted around the island while I was out getting the ingredients. The short version is, I didn't find anything promising in the area. Then again, I didn't scour the entire island. So who can say?
Let's say you did find it. The elixir of life, I mean. How would you know? Have you seen it or what?
No, I never heard of the elixir until I took this job. I'm just going by the drawing I got.
Huh.
While I was scavenging, I learned a bit about the
Keeping
plant
the
life.
secrets.
It's a mixed bag of species, but it's mostly normal things you could find on the mainland. A few of the plants were unfamiliar, though.
Maybe they came from Ryukyu. We're not too far from there.
Wow. Fascinating stuff.
I noticed something. Some of them are the same as the ones growing out of that samurai.
Does that mean?
What happened to the people they sent here before? If most of the
turned
plants
into
on this
butterflies.
island used to be human beings, I think it's obvious.
Flowers, plants,
feeding us
butterflies,
I didn't use
whatever.
them in the food. Anyway, none of the plants looked like this weird mandarin thingy.
Well then, we shouldn't be too fixated on the picture they gave us. They're using the terms paradise and Tokijiku no Kagunomi, but those concepts are taken from two different cultures. The stone statues on the island resemble either Buddhist or Taoist designs, but worrying about the religious consistency is pointless. What intrigues me most are the statues themselves. Does this place
What
have the
intrigues me
technology to
most
make
are the
them from
big
clay or
titty
stone?
statues.
If so, then who made them? And do those people reside on the island today?
I don't think so. How could someone make a home here? With all these wild creatures? It would
Yeah,
be
I guess
much
they
too
don't know
dangerous.
that the
And we
monsters
still don't
are
know exactly what they
intelligent
are
enough
when I
to
cut them.
communicate yet.
I thought I felt flesh and bones. But as for organs and,
The genitalia?
yes, that. I didn't see anything.
You mean they don't have dicks?
Their appearance is strange. They're like parts of assorted animals stacked on top of humanoid forms. I'm not sure how to describe it.
Nor do I. I also noticed the monsters
Amalgamations.
were poorly crafted adornments. They're religious in nature, but the details aren't exactly accurate. Which is why I think they're like malformed gods. They are, much like the island itself, terrifying, but decidedly absurd. Too removed from reality to be natural, yet too artificial to be true incarnations of the divine. It's as though we've been thrown into some sort of half-formed Mandela. Something so nonsensical that it's beyond our understanding.
Eldritch horrors beyond the comprehension of man.
They're creatures that can survive with no organs. That kind of sounds like immortality. And that means the elixir might actually be here somewhere. If it's here, it can be found. And if we find it, we can be pardoned.
Or this really is the afterlife and all of us are dead. That kind of defeats the purpose of the elixir, huh?
Possible, but I sincerely hope that's not it. Gabimaru-san is correct, though. Our first mission should be to try to understand the monster's ecology. We must determine where and how these creatures live. It'll be a dangerous task, but it's the only lead we've got, so we
Hopefully
have to.
they don't live in rotted out tree stumps, because then you'd be fucked.
Sunset. We haven't even been here for a full day. Genji Dono?
Listen to me. You need to take a boat back to the mainland.
But why?
My assigned criminal is dead, so I will assume your responsibilities here. You're a daughter of the Yamadas first and a samurai second, so it's your duty to marry the next head of the clan. The shogunate will have no objections to me taking over for you. In your current state, you'll die. Go home while you can, Sagiri.
Final chance to refuse the call.
I have to complete the job. Warriors don't just run away.
Your intentions are noble, but be realistic. Do you have the strength to kill Gabimaru as you are now? And your katana. I assume you picked that up somewhere along the way, yes? A sword is a warrior's heart, meaning you've already lost the thing that makes you one of the Yamada clan. Then again, I suppose that can happen on the battlefield. A warrior may dispose of his blade and procure a new one on the spot. I don't deny that you're very talented with a sword, but that's as a blade tester and executioner. It's impossible to succeed in
That
this
is kind of
undertaking
what
without
she did.
exceptional.
Like, she had her sword that she was using, like, akin to her beliefs, and they were shattered by this guy who made her think of her whole job in a different way. So now she has a new set of beliefs and a new sword that she will use, and that is that there are more things to life than just being detached and unfeeling, you know? There's more things to life than just being, like, beautiful and sure of yourself, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. There's a whole bunch of shit. So yeah, that's her new sword, is that, like, an evolved sense of the world, that everything is morally gray, and, like, you just don't need to justify what you're doing. Like, you just need to fucking exist. When before she was, like, riddled with self-doubt and, like, trying to be perfect every time, which I've been there. And yeah, it leads to suffering.
Combat ability, which you are lacking.
Perfectionism, I mean.
Mastery of the blade and mastery in the art of war simply are not the same. This island demands a strength which you do not possess. Because you are a woman.
Yo, this
Are you
shit.
sure it would be that easy to leave if she chose to?
Senta,
After all, most of the samurai they dispatched to the island so far haven't returned. Even with a boat, I'm not confident that it could be done.
We need to get away from the coast. It's hard to see through this fog. But a true warrior keeps moving forward no matter how bad things get.
Why are you samurai always so stupid?
What was that?
Are they
Just
trying to
watch
go
where the
back
currents
already?
go, because if you rely on brute force, you'll end up exhausting yourself without getting anything done. Samurai are obsessed with stuff that doesn't exist. They don't know how to be smart.
The currents, huh? That's so helpful. Is that some kind of secret Sanka tribe wisdom or what?
My grandfather taught me.
Just
He always
common
told me about how
sense.
efficiency was important. But you know, even if we do find a way to get off the island, I'll still end up dead if I don't bring that elixir.
Don't worry. I'm gonna go talk to the shogunate for you. I'm sure they can work something out. It's okay, Nudagai-kun. I'll get you back home safe and sound. I promise.
What's the deal with
Out
these
of all the
two?
criminals they sent to this island, you're the one who deserves to live more than anyone. Check it out! How lucky is that? This ship is huge. It must belong to the shogunate. Think we just found our way home.
Oh,
Is that one ours too?
it's a ship
Not sure.
graveyard.
Wait, I think these are all of the ships that tried to leave the island.
Oh, and that's where we get the fish people. Okay. Interesting. I love a good fish person, you know. We need more like Murloc-esque foes in the media.
Stop! Don't be an idiot!
Huh?
Yo.
A lot of creatures get aggressive when they see something shiny like a sword. We should have turned around before we got this far out.
It's not my fault. How am I supposed to know all this complicated stuff?
He's going fishing with reflective lures.
We should try to find a vessel that's still seaworthy.
Yo, we got a kraken up in this hoe.
Run, Nurugai. If you die, the Sanka bloodline will die with you.
We don't believe in things that don't exist. But I can't help but wonder, is this divine punishment? Hey, if you guys are lost, I can take you to the foot of the mountain.
Are you an Emishi? Then lead me to your village so that I can rest.
What does
Yo.
Emishi mean?
It's a word for one who doesn't obey. Those who refuse to submit to the shogunate and live as separate tribes in the mountains. Tokugawa-sama considers them to be traitors. Take him away. We'll kill him once he tells us where the other villagers are.
My
Purge the
goodness.
Sanka from this region.
You just didn't know. Seems
I'm
pretty
sorry.
irresponsible not
I'm
to
sorry,
fucking tell
Grandpa.
them that.
It's all because I led the samurai here.
I'm one of the Asaimon. I'm employed by the government. And I don't understand why an innocent boy should be killed. If there's a chance for you to live, then you should take it.
What am I supposed to do now? Should I live and carry on the village's bloodline? Or should I die to pay the price for their deaths?
I don't think they would want you to die. It's not really your fault.
And I couldn't. Everything is.
No, Kisho-san, why? It's me, Tenza. Please tell me you remember me.
Yeah,
It's too late
that's
for
the
him
guy
now.
who I
We
said
should go.
would have been turned into a flower. He did it. Yo. Shorty got split in half.
Trapped? Hey, what's the matter with you,
The
Nurugai-kun?
PTSD.
Go ahead and escape by yourself. Just leave me here. Okay?
Hold on. Do you seriously want me to get away without you?
Even before this, I was already wondering whether I should live or die. But I finally understand now. This is my divine punishment. It's what I deserve.
Okay.
Getting grandfather and the others killed.
I mean, you literally didn't know shit.
It still doesn't make any sense to me. Why does that mean that you should die? Samurai are stupid, remember? So break it down for me.
It's the Sanka's covenant. To live for the sake of the mountain and the villagers. And yet I was the
Now
only
you
survivor
have
that
nothing
day.
to live for.
All of my people were killed because
Except
of
for
me.
the mountain. Did you forget the first
Told
half?
you I'm stupid, so don't
You
use
have to live
fancy
for the
words like
mountain,
covenant, or I can't
not
follow
just the
anything you
villagers?
say.
I just mean that. Hey, I told you to forget me.
Until you explain your answer.
Yo,
to
they
me,
wrap up their injuries so
and
fast.
until I can understand it, I'm not leaving you here.
Aight?
I don't have much stamina left in me, though, so you'd better make it quick! Spit it out, kid! I'm not asking about your grandpa or your village. All I'm asking is whether or not you want to die!
Aw.
I want to go home again. So no, I don't want to die.
Then there's only one course of action. Do whatever it takes to live! That boat still looks usable! So let's bust through these things
So
and
the
get
boat they
aboard!
came in on? Why did they get off
Right.
their original boat?
Ah!
They said they wanted to find a seaworthy vessel, but I guess they just found out that there were no seaworthy vessels left, so they're just like back to original boat.
You're strong, Nurugai-kun. Thanks for your help.
I could say the same.
I could totally
We
see
escaped
his
the
mentor
monsters for
being
now.
killed, like, right
Too
here.
bad we're right back on the beach.
Yeah, I'd be willing to bet that all the currents in this area probably flow toward the island. Unless we find one that leads away from it, we won't be able to go back with the elixir. And these monsters, they're different from the ones we saw on the island.
It looks like that mountain of abandoned ships goes all the way around. There's too many to just be from the past few years. Anyway,
Well, how'd
we
they
can
get
think about
in
it after we
without
wash
seeing
off all
any of
blood
the
and guts.
wreckage if it goes all the way around?
That one samurai who bloomed, he made it back, which means there has to
Somehow.
be some way out of here.
Yeah,
Some
good
way
point.
to navigate the Kraken.
Hey,
And that
wait.
guy didn't
Murugai-kun,
mention a
don't
Kraken
take this the
either.
wrong way, but your figure is kind of girlish, you might say.
Girlish? I am a girl.
Really? How? Seriously?
Why are you freaking out?
Look, if you're a girl, then face the other way.
You samurai sure love to focus on dumb stuff that doesn't matter.
Believe me, it matters a lot more than you think.
I mean,
turn around,
if I
alright?
just killed a bunch of fish, I would want to wash my
Once we're back
clothes
home,
too.
we should get married.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
I can't
jeez.
do it. This
Yeah,
island's
that's like
overloading
the
my puny
worst
brain.
thing for an
I'm
adult
stupid,
to
as you
find
know.
out. It's just
Anyway,
like
let's
there's
move on.
a
We
girl
need to make
that
a
is
game
stripping in
plan.
front of you and you're
First
supposed
things
to
first.
stay with them.
We should
Like,
circle the entire
you would
island
want
and
to
try to find a
bolt
current leading out to the
out
sea.
of there immediately,
Yeah,
of
we
course.
shouldn't do anything till we know how to leave.
Besides, we'll be no match for those monsters if it's only the two of us. We'll need some allies for the return trip.
You'll sail home at the break of dawn, Sagiri. This expedition is far too dangerous for a mere woman.
Bruh,
Honestly,
the
a part
sexism
of me
goes
does agree
hard.
with Genji-san. His reasoning aside, it would be wise to go home if you have a chance.
Like, how strong is this
And
motherfucker?
again, the other part of me wants you to be here in case Gabimaru-san gets out of control and needs to be stopped.
You do? Really?
It's just a hunch, but something's different about Gabimaru-san now compared to when I first saw him on the beach. He even went so far as to save your life. Though that could have been because he knows he has to return with his partner alive. Do you have any idea what might have inspired this change in him?
They don't know that she's already all up in
Stay
that
back.
psyche of his.
All told,
I guess they're
I
in
must
each
admit
other's
that I would feel
psyche.
much better if you stayed here. But it's up to you.
I see. Thanks for that.
No sleep.
Are you just gonna stay up all night watching me? Because I don't plan on sleeping.
I'm taking turns with the other guards.
Makes sense. Otherwise, none of you guys would get to sleep. The show
Oh
didn't
yeah,
think
that's
this
the
through at all,
idea
did
of
they?
taking shifts, dude.
Samurai obey without question.
Listen,
You first.
I was just wondering if you felt better yet.
What?
What's with the funny look?
I mean, I'm surprised.
Well, because if I hadn't given you that wound, I don't think the poison would have worked as quickly. So I thought maybe
But I thought you were worried about us running out of time.
yeah, well, it's not such a big deal now. And I owe you a favor. I've been thinking more clearly, now that you're around. I know that rushing in randomly is dangerous. And if
You
the
just
Iwagakure
needed some
are coming, then
therapy.
I should prepare a counterattack. I've decided to live on with my wife, and we'll survive long after this job is over with. I won't run from the ones who get in my way. I'll face them head on.
You're very strong.
You're stronger than I am, though. That's for sure.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, you are. I'm never wrong when it comes to this kind of stuff, believe me. I don't know if it's your heart or your technique, or maybe it's just who you are. At the very least, you were really strong back at the prison. And I didn't just think that. It was almost like I felt it somehow. I wonder where that feeling came from.
Just your natural animalistic
look surprised.
instinct.
Well, I am.
There was a
That
saying
you were
back in
about
my
to fucking
village.
die.
You'll never know how strong you are until you've had some life experience, right? People never understand themselves nearly as well as they think they do. Not until they're forced to take action. We're all like that.
Life is
Nothing showed up
suffering.
to attack us for the entire night. I suppose
The
the
type
monsters
of
are
person
only
you
active
are
in the
is just
daytime.
determined by
Now
how
then,
you
Suggy,
suffer and
if you're
what you
prepared
choose to
depart,
suffer
I'll
through.
escort you to the ship.
I appreciate your consideration, but I won't be leaving the island.
If you're worried about punishment, you shouldn't be.
No, it's nothing like that. This concerns the way I choose to live.
What are you speaking of? Since you're a young woman, you should return
Yo,
home
fuck
safely
off.
and bear children for the Yamada clan.
Fuck off.
I know. I've heard that my whole life. A woman who wields a sword is met with astonishment and ridicule. You ought to know your place, they'd say. The worst part were the looks of disappointment from my own father.
A
Bruh.
woman can't take over the Yamada clan. No reason to push yourself, dear. It's better to live a woman's life.
If I live as a daughter of Neckchopper Asa, then outsiders hate me. But if I live as a Yamada clan warrior, my family hates me. So if I leave the island now, it'll follow me forever.
I still don't see any problem. It's natural for a woman to fulfill the duty she was
LOL.
made to have.
I don't see any problem whatsoever.
I'm sorry, but I can't stand to be looked at in that way.
In what way?
Not just as a woman. I want to be seen as a samurai.
Silence!
Please,
Silence.
forgive me for defying my senior, but
What
I
the
need
hell?
to live the way I see fit. I know I'm weak, and that I'm lacking in experience, but still,
I won't run from the ones who get in my way.
at least, my choices will be mine, and no one else's. I believe regardless of gender, and regardless of status, that all people
If
have
you
that
wanted
same
your
desire
choices
deep
to
in
be
their
your
hearts.
own, like
I
why
hope you can understand.
why become a samurai then? Because you just have to follow orders blindly. Like why not be your own
Now you're
person?
being ridiculous. That isn't the way a samurai lives his life. This island is a battlefield. It's no place for women and children! Oh. What?
Was he gonna fucking
did you-
try to kill her?
During a battle, one may need to procure a weapon. You taught me that lesson last night.
Bruh.
Woman! A warrior sword is this very soul! How dare you steal it!
What the fuck were you going to
Genji, don't-
do? Like, were you going to slash her? Jeez, yeah, I mean, it was really making us hate him there. Alright, next episode, hopefully more sexists will die.
Episode 5 leads into the samurai and the woman. This is a very oh man, I like when we jump around, you know. It like isolates new characters and gets to kind of like figure out what their deal is, how they tick with the monitor and then the criminal, you know. And this one kind of like segues back into Sagiri waking up. She finds they moved away from the butterflies, who's, you know, we mentioned the poisonous scales caused her to faint. Gabimaru tells the others that while exploring alone, he discovered that many plants on the island were former samurai sent by the shogun, like is kind of intimated at the beginning of the show with the guy being sent kind of in flower pieces, right? Hands, feet, arms, face, whatever. Let me find my spot. Flower pieces. Basically, he says that he's found a bunch of remnants of these people. Senta, one of the Asaimon, shares knowledge he's gained since arriving, basically imparting everything he's learned so far. Genji, the other Asaimon, suggests that he replace Sagiri in guarding Gabimaru as she lacks battle skills, but she refuses. And we'll kind of segue into the next bit, but I wanted to kind of like stay here first because it's the constant refrain that Sagiri is not enough. She does not know what she's doing. She's not capable of kind of committing to her task and doing it well, I guess. And no more is this more, you know, pertinent than with the character of Genji. He's like, you do not have what it takes, and I will tell you repeatedly, basically, that this is the case. What do we think of the character of Genji? I guess Senta as well, and also the information he brings. What do we think? We'll start with Noah.
Yeah, I mean, Senta doesn't really have much of a like presence at this point.
Not at this point, yeah.
And I don't even think like, as far as like episode 7, he's had much of a presence. So it's really hard to like make any like judgment calls on his character. He just seems like he's
Yeah.
been sort of enraptured into the web of Yuzuriha, and he's just kind of like a tool for her.
Right. He's pretty nerdy, bookish type.
Yeah.
He doesn't seem like a typical Yamada Simon samurai at all. Like he's very against type, I would say.
But as for Genji, I think he's a good sort of foil to Sugiri. He's like he's basically a lot like the other influences in her life that tell her that, like, you know, she probably shouldn't be doing this, but like he's just like very blunt about it. He's like, no,
Very blunt.
you don't need to be here. Go home. Go be, you know, a woman, do trad woman things, you know. And she's like, no, I'm not going to do that. Sorry. So it's
he tells her that multiple times to her
Yeah.
face, like, you need to
Yeah.
get the F out of here. Like,
Yeah.
you are just, you are not capable of doing this. Go home. Literally go home.
Yeah, several times. And so it's a good sort of back and forth. Like, you were not supposed to, obviously, you know, be siding with Genji here, but he's a useful foil for driving the plot point home of, like, you know, Sugiri is a woman, yes, but that doesn't make her any less or more capable of doing the samurai job.
Who could ever side with a Genji main anyway?
I need healing. I need healing.
I need healing. Yeah, he puts the voice line up every time he doesn't get what he wants. Yeah. That's for the Overwatch faithful out there. If you're still playing this game,
Yeah,
Who'd do
we're all
that? What
still
the heck?
playing Overwatch.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly right. I played so much Overwatch, it's disgusting, and I spent too much money on that game. But that's neither here nor there. What about this Genji Whiz? What do you think?
Okay, yeah, as soon as he said the words, "you should be birthing children," I was just waiting for him to die. I was like, okay, he's a dead man walking. No fucking character in 2025. I don't know when this show is released, but
What was
like,
it, 23, 20?
in the
whatever.
modern era, like any character that says shit like that, they're probably gonna fucking die. So I was like, let's see how long they last.
I mean, they'll die or they'll, you know, change their mind. They'll see reason. In this
Yeah.
case, kind of both.
He's not going to keep up this line of thought. We'll put it that way. 'Cause
Yeah.
things happen with this guy.
And the other guy, the other like more rotund handler,
Yeah, Senta.
so he knew about these butterflies. Like he had all these notebooks.
That's what he's
When did he
intimating.
get? When did
Yeah.
he get this information?
I think, see, this might be a thing that's answered later. And he kind of gets into the background of Shinsekyo, like in episode 7 specifically. So he knows a lot more than we know for sure right now. Like, I don't think we're privy to that information he has quite yet. But he seems to have some resource that he's taken with him, right? Where he has, I don't know how he's like gathered this information other than looking, really, but maybe he does have like kind of this hidden reserve of knowledge that he's brought with him. I don't know. I guess we'll have to find out in that regard, so I can't say.
It's like I was thinking, just what's the deal? Because the other samurai don't know the information that he has. He's just telling them right then. And then I was thinking, like, why wouldn't he tell them? I don't know. Maybe something fishy is going on that we just don't know about. But
Yeah,
I
could-
thought that was interesting.
Could very well be. Yeah, they don't get into that, at least in these 7 episodes that I saw. But he is hinting he knows more than he lets on, at least, and he's only doling out information at specific intervals too, which I find very interesting, especially in 7, where he really kind of like talks about what's going on, or you know, kind of the nature of the world and all the religious aspects to it. But yeah, it's Genji suggests that he replace Sagiri, guarding Gabimaru, and she's like, no, we're not. I'm not doing that. You can go kick rocks, whatever. At this point, it cuts to a couple characters we have not met yet up until this point that you have seen in the distance. You've seen in kind of the the kind of the closed arena of the selection committee sort of thing, the whittling down of the criminals. You see the two characters, Yamada Asaemon Tenza and the criminal Nuragai, who's the last of the Sanka people, these kind of nomadic tribe people, blocked by a graveyard of samurai ships. I like Nuragai. They are a fun character, and we'll get into it for sure. She is not who she says she is, or at least who she seems like she is, and I love the way Tenza later is taken aback by this fact. But
I thought she was a girl right away, just based
really,
on her design.
I did not take. I just thought of them as a small boy,
and I was like, oh, interesting.
I didn't
I was like,
think anything of their gender, to be honest. I was like, I don't really know what you are, but that I wasn't thinking in terms of gender when I was introduced to this character, I guess. So.
Yeah.
Another thematic thing I wish to point out is before they reach that ship graveyard, the samurai guy is trying to go against the tide with his own will. He's trying to go against the way of the universe, if I may make one little step out into that. He's
like that.
And a general theme is you want to, especially the ocean, it comes into play later with the samurai. But you're not supposed to be going against the way of the world. You're supposed to be adapting to the world and existing in it. But he's trying to go against the current. And then he gets the tip from the village fisherman girl that he should go with the tide, and that's what brings them to the graveyard. But he's like, oh, I gotta do this all myself. It's like, no, sometimes you gotta exist in the ocean and let the waves take you, or else you're not gonna get anywhere.
Well, yeah, cool. he's rowing against it specifically, and Nuragai's like, you're literally not gonna get anywhere doing this. And I could have told you this earlier, but you seem like you're struggling, basically. And he's like, well, what way can we do it? And he's like, go with the motion of the ocean, and they kind of end up in a bad spot. But Noah, what do you think of this scene?
Yeah, I think it's cool. I think the whole shipyard scene with the monsters and things, I think it's a nice little set piece for their for introducing these characters. Just this whole back and forth between them in general. They're really interesting duo for sure.
They're very bouncy. I like the buoyancy of these characters, not just because they're on the water, but just how they interact with each other.
Yeah, it's funny just having the character that's I'm really dumb, so you're gonna have to dumb this down for me. I'm really dumb. You're gonna have to help me out here.
yeah. I like the character of Nuragai because they are the last of a people, right? And basically when they're kind of confronted by whatever's on these ships, the ship graveyard, all these tentacle monsters and weird kind of fish people, you kind of see their I don't know, their history, Nuragai's history and life flash before their eyes. You go you are the last of these people. You cannot die. You have to be the lifeblood of us, basically, as they see kind of, well, I guess the entire setup isn't Nuragai somewhat responsible for the death of her people too, or did I
indirectly.
Okay.
So their people were living out of the jurisdiction of the samurai, and no one thought to tell her that. No one thought it would be a good idea to be hey, if anyone sees us, they're gonna kill us on sight. So there were some wandering people that she thought were just travelers, but they were samurai.
That's right.
She led them to their village and murked everyone.
Yeah, and she carries a great degree of guilt, because of that, obviously, because kind of destroyed her entire people and every people she's ever known, including her beloved grandfather. But yeah, I like Nuragai. I like her design specifically, and I also like Tenza's design. I like how they're not, everyone's got interesting hairstyles, different hair colors. They're not just the main Japanese black hair, whatever. It's everyone's very visually distinct from each other. Yeah. And I like how different both of these people look. They don't look like they're from the same place specifically. I don't know what you think about
They
that.
look like they're from Naruto and The Legend of Korra.
Honestly, I was thinking that for Nuragai specifically was The Legend of Korra.
Yeah,
She looks like an
fair.
earthbender or something, for sure.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
It's
Sorry, continue.
Yeah, I was just gonna say this is like, this is a pretty like deep place to go, like a very serious place to go with because until now they have been making fun of poking fun at like crappy things in like Japanese bureaucratic history, like with like incompetent shogun and incompetent samurai and just strict samurai traditions and strict samurai laws and rules and the whole class divide and things like that. They go into all of that throughout the show, but now they're talking about actual people groups getting wiped out because they didn't conform to the government bureaucracy, essentially. And that's like that's real history that they're
heavy stuff
covering there. It reminds me of like the Ainu people of northern Japan that like they just recently within the past like 10 or so years finally got recognized as like a cultural cultural distinction from the Japanese people, because before then the Japanese government were not recognizing the Ainu people as like culturally distinct peoples. And so that was like a huge part of like the Japanese cultural history, is that like they're like, if you're on any of these islands then you're Japanese, and Japanese is one thing. It's like, well, no, there's different people groups within the different islands of Japan, with each with their different like cultures and languages, and that needs to be preserved and respected. And there's been historians for like 100 years or so that have like preserved that, but finally like the Japanese government's like, okay, we'll recognize them officially. So
it reminds me of, I don't know if Whiz has seen Shogun, but it reminds me of the scene, at least, and no, you've seen it, where I think there's an infraction upon one of the, I guess, the attendants or samurai or whatever. He like steps out of line in like a main courtroom sequence or whatever between like two of the shogunates, or the people, the main leaders, whatever you want to say, and
Daimyo.
He basically has to give up his child, his firstborn child, and kill him, right?
And
because of this infraction, and himself, because of he stepped out of line once, right? And granted, it's a very serious offense to do that, but you just see how little mistakes in like this sort of culture can like really lead to huge snowball effects, right? And they kind of reminded me of that scene from Shogun, specifically in this with Nuragai.
It's an interesting thing, because this show, it could dig into some of the themes of Shogun, of like life is cheap, dying is but a part of life, so you can die anytime you want. But I like that they go a different route with this sort of like samurai setting from that. So
yeah, for sure. And it's really interesting to see, like Whiz basically brought up Nuragai kind of looking like someone from Avatar. I really like the way she looks and the way she acts. And I like the scene where Tenza's cutting through these tentacles, and she's kind of got these flashbacks, and she's like, oh my god, I'm at fault for this, so I need to last, right? And it's another example of somebody having reason to live, ultimately. After that, they find Yamada Asame and Kisho still alive, but flowers are sprouting all over him. The guy who basically took was it K-on's head or whatever his name is, the first encounter with Gabimaru, the first time he fights the criminal, he beheads him, walks off, says he's going to take a bath. This is what happens to him. He kind of ends up kind of turning into a shrub, right? Wiz, what did you think of Kisho still hanging out, looking like a I don't know, a bouquet?
Yeah, you realize at that point there is no escape. Like, there is no point where they're going to just be like, okay, let's go get on the boat for the return journey home. That's just not happening. So whatever happens, they're not getting out that way. So that's kind of an interesting thing. It's like, oh, they're fucked.
Yeah, there's no way out.
They really can't do anything. There was obviously that one boat that was able to circumnavigate the Kraken, like to come back with the living guy, the guy that was still alive, but I guess we don't really know. We don't really know if they like let them go. We don't really
That's
know
what
what
I think
happened
is
there.
happening. Yeah, I think the androgynous character later we meet in episode 6 and 7, I think they allowed them to escape because they seem like the god of this land. That's what I think. I'm sure no one knows the answer for sure. But yeah, it seems like there is a reason they got that boat back to shore, right? But yeah, after that, they get out alive. They actually get out. Nuragai she feels responsible for the demise of the Sanka, waits to die. Tenza kind of fights through, and they fight their way back to the island. And this is kind of the one moment of levity in this episode, because it's kind of coming from a pretty dark and tough scene. They're drying their clothes, and this is when Tenza discovers that Nuragai is a lady, and it's a very, very good, fun scene. A lot of levity to it.
Yeah.
What'd you think of it? What'd you think of it, Whiz?
I just immediately was like, why is he not stripping down to? They must be covered in fish guts and just
Could be, yeah.
like terrible. I just okay, maybe I was reading too much into it, but like if I was just killing a bunch of fish that were mixed with undead human parts, I would be immediately washing my fucking clothes. I would be scrubbing that in the ocean.
He comments like, "Why do you have your clothes off?" And he's like, "Ah, you're a lady." She's like, "Yeah, I am." Yeah, he's taking off his shirt or whatever. But
yeah, and you know, it's all Gucci, and it's not done in a creepy way.
No, definitely not.
It's just like
it's very shocking to him.
Yeah, and I was thinking, like, man, if you're an adult and you are like, say you're a parole officer for like a youth, and then they just start stripping in front of you. Like, that must be pretty darn uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because you're supposed to be there and potentially kill. I mean, he already knows that he doesn't want to kill this person.
Right.
But like, technically, they're supposed to watch over these criminals and kill them if need be. So like, it's his job to stay there. But if it were me, I would fucking turn and run as soon as I could. I mean, in 2025 Earth society. Yeah. But like, oh my god. And then like her like response, it's probably what a little girl would think, because she's like, oh, you're chivalrous, we should get married. Which I was like, okay, that's a bit of a turn from the survivor's guilt-riddled child that we just saw.
A little bit, yeah.
But at the same time, traumatized people can act that way. Like, if you are extremely traumatized, you can like get a little wacky, a little senseless to that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But it's just innocent. It's like, you know, it's fine. There are adult themes, but at least it's not like terrible, cringy, Japanese.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about.
It's not edgy in any capacity.
There's no like, oh man, let's show this kid nude. Oh boy, let's do it.
And they don't even show anything either. It's very deep.
Yeah. So it's great.
Yeah, I was just gonna add that I think that like this whole scene is, for one thing, done very like tastefully. Obviously, like it's
very tastefully.
It's funny. I think the guy has a very normal reaction. He's like, "Put some clothes on, kid. Like, come on, what are we doing here? This is really weird. Right. This is an awkward situation for me." And but he's, you know, just being very the adult in the room about it. And then I think that what she's trying to do is mess with him, essentially, right? She wants to have a bit of like levity after everything she was just thinking about. And so she does the whole, like, I'm an innocent little girl, so you saw me naked, now we have to get married, you know, that sort of thing. I think that's kind of what she was going for, like, to mess with him, essentially. Kind of like a little, like, Yuzuriha in her, like, to mess with him. So.
A little bit. Yeah. And
I thought it was genuine. Interesting.
Yeah.
No,
I
think
she's
definitely. I think she's definitely kidding. I really do think she's kidding. And from there, they kind of like, you know, kind of shake themselves loose from this situation, and they decide to see if they can find a way out. Basically,
yeah, they get over it pretty quick. They move on from.
Yeah, they really do move on very quick, and it's not even remarked upon. After that, from there we go back to Gabimaru and Sagiri, and he basically like tells her like, "Yo, like stand your ground against Genji. This guy is whack. Like, you do not need to take this. You just don't need to take this. You know." And then we kind of reach the end of the episode with Rokuroda, but kind of talk about. I guess we'll start with Noah. We'll talk about what you think about Gabimaru really in these last couple episodes, kind of like really siding with Sagiri, protecting her, giving her advice, and kind of what she thinks about that. What did you take from it?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I think that they're a really good sort of like duo of protagonists for this show.
They are.
I
like them a lot.
The best part about it, right, is that they've cut out any sort of like shipping, any sort of like, you know, innuendos, because he's already married. He's very loyal to his wife, and he just wants to go home to his wife. And so now they can just be equals on this battlefield, regardless of their genders. So it's very fascinating that they're able to establish that and be like, no, we want this to be a story about two people that are just like people regardless of gender norms, fighting this battle, trying to survive this situation.
Yeah, I think the platonic nature of their dynamic is one of the most essential things about the show.
Yeah.
And it, like you said, it cuts away from all the distractions that would be in a show like this. The enemies became lovers. That's at 2:30 in the morning. Like, no, that's not what we're doing. Yeah. It's not the point of the show, and it also distracts from it. And they never even lean into it too, which I appreciate, because it's another mature theme where not every main character needs to like the other, like genuinely. And even if they do, they don't have to fall in love. You know, I mean, you see that a lot in Western media where they're just like, oh, you hate each other and you end up loving each other. Like that's just how it is, baby. And that's not. I'm glad they didn't take this tact with that. But yeah, anything on this relationship, Whiz?
I think it's nice and professional.
It's very professional. Yeah. I would say that. Yeah.
It's just business, and they're just doing what needs to be done. They're only talking about business, really, like their goals, what they're gonna do. They don't really have too many philosophical discussions. They're just like, all right, what do we need to do? I mean, unless they're at each other's throats fighting.
Well, even then, they're having the battle in their own minds somewhat, and they've kind of, when they've steeled themselves and had the resolve, they're encountering each other, but they're not outright talking about all their issues, like you're saying. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it's like a less is more thing for me, and I do like that they clearly know what they want. Talking to each other and chit-chatting isn't one of those things. But they do get into situations where they do have to speak and interact with each other, which is interesting, because they definitely wouldn't, you know, it's not their choice to be doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
totally. And it's not, they don't have much time to talk with what happens next, too, because as she's kind of addressing Genji, he gets completely sniped out of kind of like their conversation. He gets completely like ripped to shreds from his right side, I think, and he gets flung back into the foliage in the background, like in front of Sagiri, and she's like shocked. She's like, "What's happening?" And the next thing you know, he goes flying, and what's left in the wake of that is Rokuroda, the giant of Bizan. He appears just out of nowhere, and you do see him as well in the initial assemblage of the 10 criminals, right? And they all have these like paper masks on to kind of hide their, I guess, their faces for whatever reason, be it for identity or just for, I don't know, anonymity. I don't know. But he keeps his on, with the exception of one gaping eye through kind of the torn paper. I guess, what do you guys think initially of Rokuroda? Because we don't know much about him until the next episode, where it really dives deep into it. Anyone can take it.
He was one of my most interested. Like, whenever they were being introduced, I was most interested in him because they said he ate bears head first. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And I actually thought he was, because he's another big guy, I thought he was the weapon guy that got stabbed a bunch of times. And I was like, oh, no, I wanted to see more of him. So whenever he was still alive, I was like, oh, wait, that's a completely different character. They were just two large men with masks. I was like, okay, cool. And my goodness, does this non-verbal character get a whole backstory? He gets, like, so everyone has their little inner monologue.
Right.
And he gets his own little non-verbal inner monologue, which I think is fun.
Yeah. It's episode 6 where it really, you start to get some feelings for this guy that you didn't think you'd get. He comes off as a heavy initially, especially. You're just like, oh, this is just another thing they have to fight. And they also mentioned that he cannot be pierced by weapons of any type, and he's pretty impervious to most damage, really. And they kind of show that with everybody kind of whittling down their numbers in episode 2. They're hitting him ineffectively with whatever sword they have, and he's just kind of like hanging out, kind of reclining.
Kind of like a freaking slacking from Pokemon, right? Like
slacking, yeah, totally. Very, very similar to that. He's not a slow guy. This guy, he rips Genji to shreds at the end of this episode, and he's kind of a lot to tussle with in episode 6, Heart and Reason. Is there any other things you guys want to touch on in episode 5? Because otherwise, I think the Rokuroda fight is really fun to watch, and how they deal with this problem.
Yeah, I do just kind of want to emphasize on how, like, Gabimaru and Sagiri, they have a lot of, like, nonverbal communication with each other throughout the show. Whether it's from, like, internal monologues of, like, observing each other and then, like, learning things from observing each other, or just, like, their actions that they do, like when they have the big fight. There's not a lot of, like, verbal communication that has to happen between them. They're able to understand each other on, like, a deeper than words sort of level. That's really an interesting dynamic for them to have there. And I think that a lot of shows could benefit from, like, the sort of, as you were saying earlier, more is less sort of approach.
Yeah.
Actually, Sakamoto Days, that's airing right now, is really good about the sort of less is more approach with their main character Sakamoto. He's like a man of few words, but speaks with, like, his actions. So I like that sort of, like, character philosophy. Yeah,
for sure. And Rokuroda, I don't think he utters a line of dialogue in this entire episode instance at all, and I don't think he can speak. I think he is dumb, technically. He has feelings, as we'll kind of get to, but with
he spoke as a kid.
Did he speak? Okay, yeah, he said. Well, he says
flashback,
he says, like, a word or two, but he doesn't, like, speak full sentences,
he
right?
Speaks
or am I
full
wrong?
Sentences, like,
does
why
he?
does
I missed this part,
nobody
then.
play with me?
Okay,
why does
but
nobody
I didn't
like me?
Okay, I missed this part then. I must have not registered that he
Yeah,
was talking.
they're not complex sentences.
No. Okay.
He ended up killing his parents at a young age. So
okay, I guess I thought of it as him thinking of it and not him saying it, but maybe he is talking there.
Yeah.
But yeah, Rokuroda, like, he comes onto the scene quick. He's a lot faster than he looks. Genji's fatally wounded, and Sagiri tries to help him, and he tells her to run. Rokuroda is basically about to attack her, and she's saved by Gabimaru. Gabimaru tries to assess Rokuroda's abilities, but he's unable to find any weakness at all. And then Genji realizes that Sagiri is treading the middle path between heart, reason, weakness, and strength, gives her his blade. Just the initial like instant this fight starts. Like Gabimaru is there, ready to tussle. And this is kind of like him really kind of seeing the extent of some of his abilities too. Like you see him as this really powerful character initially, especially with his ninpo and his you know, I don't even know what you call it, stamina, I guess. But you start to see the limits of that in this fight, where even Rokurota's too powerful for him.